Hello, I'm Alethea Stark, the project coordinator for the Journey projects, sponsored by the National Great Blacks in Wax Museum. Today, we are going to unveil the wax figure of Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Tia Taylor. Welcome to another episode of Spotlight. And today we're looking at the unveiling of 4 new statues at the Blacks in Wax Museum. Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune, Dr. Freeman Habrowski, Dr. Benjamin Mays, and Dr. Benjamin Quarles from right here at Morgan State University. So please sit back and relax and learn a little bit about history and learn about the 4 new statues being unveiled for the Blacks in Wax Museum located in Baltimore, Maryland. Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune, who's the founder of Bethune-Cookman College in Florida, a major educator, an advocate for child welfare and civil rights. As you can hear, there's a lot of activity going on here in the museum and the Fine Arts Center today because of the unveiling. We're at the Murphy Fine Arts Center located at Morgan State University, so join us now in the concert hall.
Oh, a journey long time, a journey long time. Well, I wouldn't take nothing long time for a journey long time. One day, I was walking along where the elements all burn, and the long time. On the journey long time, a journey long time. Well, I wouldn't take nothing long time for my journey long time. Well, I went to the valley and it didn't go to stay. Well, my soul got happy, Lord, and I still need my time. On the journey long time, a journey long time. Well, I wouldn't take nothing long time on my journey long time. You can talk about me, talk as much as you please. Well, I'll talk about you when I get on my knees long time. On the journey long time, a journey long time. Well, I wouldn't take nothing long time for my journey long
I would ask now, as we begin our presentation of Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune, that all of the members of the Council of Negro Women who are here, if you would please stand as a part of her extended family. And stay standing, if you will, as one who, again, needs no introduction, who is a part of your family and a part of our family, comes forward. Please join me in welcoming for the presentation of Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune, Dr. Thelma Daly, Vice Chair of the National Council of Negro Women, formerly the President of National Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, and a friend of all of us. Dr. Thelma Daly, would you please come forward for the presentation?
You know, when I left home today, I kept thinking about how did I get picked? I think you better sit a while. I kept thinking, how did I get picked to do the presentation for Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune? And then as I entered the lobby, I saw the wax figure of Dr. Dorothy Irene Height, who every day and almost in every speech she made, she talked about Mary Mcleod Bethune.
And that made me a little bit more nervous. And then Derek, who is going to present for Dr. Ribowski, and I sat as all of the people started speaking here. I caught Derek's hand. I just met Derek today. And I said, Derek, are you nervous? And he said, yes, I am. And Derek said, they're taking my speech as we went along. But Mary Mcleod Bethune, a great educator. Oh, indeed, a great champion of education, humanitarian and democratic values. And even though she has been dead for 58 years as of May 18th, her power, her spirit, and her indelible imprint, I have to tell you, loom as an ever-present, powerful aura. If you don't believe it, just ask any of those members of the National Council of Negro Women. And I want you to go with me for just a moment. I want you to just go back with me for a moment. I want you to imagine what life must have been like to a girl born in 1875 in rural, it says near Maysville. It didn't say in Maysville. It said near Maysville. As the 15th child of 17 children, whose parents and even her brothers and sisters had been slaves. Imagine, just imagine. You know, proving that old adage, it's not so much where you begin, but it's where you end. And Mary Mcleod Bethune's journey through life is a journey of power, a journey of influence, a national and international journey, a journey making life better for many, many people, for numbers untold. Numbers that can't even be solved in Dr. Ribowski's equations. Indeed, she has been described as an educator, and we honor her for education, but she's also described as a civil rights activist, as a government official, and as an organization leader. Now let me try to put this in the couple minutes that you gave me, Dr. Martin. And even though you called me late, I'm trying to put it in this for you. But imagine that she walked 5 or 6 miles to a mission school somewhere in South Carolina. And then she went on, I do believe, to Scotia Seminary. Some of you might know that as Barbara Scotia. And then on to Moody Bible Institute. But she also married in 1898, and her husband died very early in 1918. Yes, she was a teacher, but you know her for establishing a special school. But I have to tell you, she established 2 small schools before she established a school for which you remember her. She believed that education was the root to a better life. And I do believe that many in this room believe that education is the root to a better life. I hope we would translate that to many of the kids I see on the streets, who for some reason must not have heard that, must not have that imprinted in their lives. And in 1904, Mrs. Bethune moved to Daytona, Florida. And when she moved to Daytona, Florida, she rented a little old house somewhere along the road. She got some boxes, orange crate boxes. Some of you have seen those boxes, I know. And she founded then her school, which was called the Daytona Educational and Industrial Institute. She had 5 little girls, and her son was 5 years old. And she had a lot of money, $1.50. And it is believed that she built that school by selling sweet potato pies. Today, that humble beginning, and I was down there when the last president was inaugurated. Today, that school is a university. more than 35 majors. No other woman in her generation of the National Association of Colored Women. Now that's very important because the National Association of Colored Women was the first major organization for African Americans in this country. And for her to become president of this organization, at that time it had 10,000 members, and it was labeled as being the premier Black women's secular organization in the whole world. She carried out her brilliant vision as an activist and carried out an activist role for women in both national and international arenas. But it didn't satisfy her. You know, she had to keep moving all the time, had to keep going. And so in 1935, December the 5th, she called together a group of women in New York City. And she asked them if she could, she wanted to establish a new organization. Very interestingly, she called in this group Mary Church Terrell, who was the first president of the National Association of Colored Women. Mrs. Bethune was very wise in what she did. Now she had Mary Church Terrell in that group. Mary Church Terrell had her own group. But from this gathering in 1935, Dr. Mary Mcleod established the National Council of Negro Women, and she was a president for 14 years. She poured into NCNW her fine-tuned organizational skills. She broke barriers in connecting NCNW with white women's organizations because she believed she should cross the lines. One group she went into where you had to have 800,000 members, and she had, I can't tell you how many, but you had to have 800,000 members to get into this group that was a part of the War Department's Bureau of Public Affairs. She impressed upon them so much that they admitted the National Council of Negro Women. She concentrated on disenfranchisement, advancement of Black women. She sponsored the SS Harriet Tubman in 1944, the first ship to honor a Black woman. Her shining hour was to integrate WACS. And you remember WACS, the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps? And she won a set-aside of 10% for Black women to go into the officers candidate class during World War II. She headed NYA, which was the National Youth Administration. She also headed the division, which she called the Division of Negro Affairs of the Civil Rights Commission. She did so many things, but let me tell you, she was a friend of President Roosevelt. She was also a friend of Eleanor Roosevelt. She would say to Eleanor Roosevelt, I need to see the president. And Eleanor Roosevelt would make it possible for her to see the president. She was, during this time, respected as one of the, really, the highest person of Black America in terms of leading Black America. She was a great educator indeed. Indeed it is that we should honor her for many, many things, for education, for civil rights, for her activism. She was deeply faithful in her causes. She was deeply faithful in her belief in education. And she was deeply faithful to Black America. Proverbs 28:20 says, the faithful will abound with blessings. And today, we honor her as we will later unveil her in the Great Blacks in Wax, Mary Mcleod Bethune.
Hi, we're here with Dr. Barbara Shaw, who's very influential in the events today at the Murphy Fine Arts Center, unveiling the 4 statues for the National Blacks in Wax Museum. Dr. Shaw, please tell us a little more about your involvement.
Well, I got involved with the whole project as a result of being the immediate past chairperson of the National Council of Negro Women, an organization that Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune founded in 1935. I was asked to come aboard and to be chair of the Journey Steering Committees for all of the journeys that will be taken, whether it be the educational journey or the spiritual journey and so on. So I'm just excited and so honored to be asked to be a part of this.
That's excellent. I'm sure you are excited. It's an exciting day to see 4 educators, including Dr. Bethune, receive the unveiling of their statues. And what year were you president?
Dr. Height died in 2010, and I was made the interim chair immediately after her death. But 1 month after her death in April 2010, I was officially made the chair of the National Council of Negro Women. So I remained chair until May of 2012 at our convention, where I opt not to seek election as the chair. And so I retired from my position. I served as vice chair for 8 years, chair for 2 years, and so now I'm just a board member, and I love it.
Not just a board member.
I am a board member. And
That's
I love
right.
It. Yes,
That's right.
Yes.
Well, we definitely appreciate all of your hard work that you've done with the Council for Negro Women and on this wonderful special project for the Journey Project. Continued success to you as you work with all of your organizations. Thank you very much.
And thank you so much for the opportunity.
It's nice to meet you. So let's go see what else is happening. One of our first statues that's being unveiled is Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune. She's originally from the southern area of the United States. She was educated in Chicago. Dr. Bethune was the founder of Cookman Bethune College in Florida, and she was a major educator and a major civil rights advocate, advocating not only for civil rights, but for child welfare and education and social welfare as well. Today, we're going to unveil Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune, the educator.
Shoulders, you raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand mountains. You raise me up to walk the sea. Please welcome to the Great Blacks and Wax Museum, Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune, Dr. Benjamin Mays, Dr. Benjamin Quarles, and Dr. Freeman Rabowski. A lot of emotion here. As the car makes its way off, I'm going to ask that the unveilers of each of our new inductees. Unveiling Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune are two members of the National Council of Negro Women, Dr. Joy Kennard and Dr. Barbara Shaw.
Wow, wasn't that music great? It really moves your soul and stirs the spirit. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Hi, we've got Dr. Joy Kennard here, and she actually runs the Dr. Mary Mcleod Bethune House in Washington, D.C. Dr. Kennard, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Please tell us a little bit more about the Mary Mcleod Bethune House.
The Mary Mcleod Bethune Home is a part of the National Park System. There are over 400 national parks all over the country, and this site is the only site in the National Park Service that focuses on Black women in the Civil Rights Movement.
That's great.
So we look at Mrs. Bethune when she purchased the home in 1943 as the first headquarters of the National Council of Negro Women. And we look at it up until 1966 when Dorothy Height was president during the height of the Civil Rights Movement. This home is a 15-room mansion where these women were set at Mrs. Bethune's feet and were able to learn about leadership. She made it to the White House. Mrs. Bethune, as you know, came from a culture of poverty to be the advisor to presidents, and she even made it a global name for herself. And so we look at her, but we focus on what women collectively did. Maids, teachers, all of these women who are nameless now that were a part and contributed to the Civil Rights Movement. So that's what we do every day, 365 days a year.
Wow, that's great. And I think it's great that that's something that's accessible. Yes. It's accessible education at a National Park Service honoring an African American woman who really was the trailblazer for us. And it's led by Dr. Kennard.
Yes.
So you're continuing, the journey by educating other individuals so they can move forward as well. I think that's great.
Thank you. And one thing that I love is that the Black and Wax Museum decided to do this figure of Mrs. Bethune. It's so timely for what's going on right now with looking at the civil rights movement as a whole, as well as giving visibility to our site in Washington, using this museum in Baltimore to even market what we're doing, which is a dream for us. So this couldn't have come at a better time. for the Bethune home.
That's true. I didn't really think about the dual marketing aspect, both for the Bethune home in Washington, D.C., and then the National Blacks and Wax Museum here in Baltimore. They're so close.
Yes.
And there's some people in D.C. that may not know about the museum, and then vice versa. Those attending the museum may not know about the historical site.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time
No
and your
problem.
information. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you being here with
Appreciate
us
it.
today.
Thank you so much.
We're going to go back and learn a little bit more about what's going on at the unveiling. Wow, we've had a great day today. We've sure learned a lot. I hope you did as well. So just remember to visit the National Blacks and Wax Museum to visit the new statues. I'm Tia Taylor. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, take care.
I hope you have enjoyed the program and you have been educated. Please join us again on Spotlight. If you wish to become involved in this program, you might contact National Great Blacks and Wax Museum by calling 410-563-3404, extension 17. Goodbye.
Good